There's nowhere quite like the Scottish Highlands on a late summer's day, is there? The mountains and glens that surround us up here provide some be changing, but this is this wee part of the world at its very finest. Not a bad place to spend a Friday night. That's right, welcome along to Inverness to kick off your footballing weekend here in BT Sport. After that international break, there were some ups and downs. A few of the latter more than the former for us Scots, I have to say. But let's put that to one side because we've got a very good game for you here as Inverness, who are looking for their first win since that Scottish Cup final, take on a Hearts team who probably wanted the break to end more than most, having lost a 100% record in controversial circumstances at Hamilton 2 weeks ago. Still, though, the table looks good for the Jambos. They're third, just a point off Celtic at the summit, with Aberdeen in between. It's a different story for Inverness, though. Injuries have taken their toll, and the team who started the season playing in Europe are now just a point clear of the basement, down in 10th. It does have the makings of a very good match here, and as always, plenty is on the way, as Ailey Barber can explain.
Yes, lots to come tonight, Darryl. Before kick-off, I spent some time earlier in the week with two of Hearts' young rising stars, Billy King and Sam Nicholson. So you can hear from both of them. And I will, of course, be speaking to both Robbie Neilson and John Hughes about their thoughts ahead of tonight's match.
Hayley, thank you very much indeed. I just made it up here in time. Michael Stewart, the former Jambos captain, is with us. Stephen Craigan here also, as usual, too. It probably felt like a long international break for Hearts, didn't it, Michael, given what happened at Hamilton and all the comments about referees and the like?
Yeah, I think that, you know, when you go into an international break, you want to get a good result, and obviously with Hearts having won all their games up until that one, it would have been a bitter pill to swallow, and obviously in the fashion that they lost that game as well, it would have been this game would have been certainly one that would have wanted to come around quicker.
There was a sense of fury, wasn't there, especially Callum Patterson's red card. The fact it's since been rescinded, it only probably adds to that storyline.
Well, it was a frustrating afternoon for Hearts. You know, they hadn't played particularly well first half. You know, they got themselves in front, and you know, this is the pivotal moment in the game. You know, Darren McKinnon actually he's facing away from the ball, Darryl. You know, I don't think it was as aggressive as what people think. You know, it was an honest tackle, and I always think you can tell by players' reactions. Callum Patterson was adamant. You know, he'd played the ball, he'd played by the rules, so you know, it was a big moment in the game.
It shouldn't take away, though, from the excellent start to the season that Hearts have had.
No, of course. I think that you know, talking about the programme before about 1 point off Celtic at this stage, you know, I think Hearts would have taken that before. But I think that you know, the fact that they've built up such momentum in last season and this season, they don't like losing games. You know, that's the bottom line. And you know, they'll be hungry in making sure that they get to the 3 points here, because that's the sort of mentality that Robbie's instilled in this team. They want to win games. They're not happy with dropping points.
Very different for Inverness, though, overall, as we just saw in that league table. To think just 1 point off the bottom, and given how well they started last season, injuries obviously have really mounted up for them, and losing key players, that's the story out there, isn't it?
Well, that's what it's all about. You know, when you lose someone like Graham Shinney and Marley Watkins, not just players within your first 11, probably your two best players, your most influential players who can play all over the pitch and can hurt the opposition. Josh Meekins has been missing through injury. I think he's back in tonight.
He is.
Gary Warren's got a broken leg. You know, Ross Draper's having to play centre half. You know, John's reshuffling his side. He's trying to find a formula and a system that suits his players available. And any kind of club who loses that kind of talent, Darryl, is always going to struggle.
You can throw in Billy Mackay to that as well. Yeah. You know, it's not long since he left as well, and I think you can see it happening at Dundee United as well. They've lost their, you know, good players. It's very difficult for these teams to reacquire, you know, good players that are going to fill the gaps of those ones that have left.
They have also lost Ryan Christie, of course, because he's gone to Celtic. Good news is, though, he's back on loan at least until January, and he starts this game tonight. There are 3 changes for each team. For Inverness, well, some good news. You just heard Stephen mention Josh Meekins is back in. James Vincent also back. Miles Storey, it's a debut from him, just arrived on loan from Swindon. Ian Vigurs, Danny Lopez and Mubaya Mutombo are out. He's suspended after his red card. 3 changes for Hearts as well. Danny Swanson in for a debut. Sean McCurdy plays, just 17 years old. Sam Nicholson in as well. Gomez, Walker and King are out. Gomez is for a family bereavement. He's been given some time off. But it's much better looking all of a sudden for Inverness. If they continue to get some of these players back, Michael, it could be a different story very quickly.
Well, I think that you know, the thing that John and Hughes will be interested in is getting points on the board. You know, it's all well and good getting the guys back in, which is important, but they need to start getting points on the board, because there's been a real downturn since they won the Scottish Cup, and you don't want that malaise to hang about for much longer.
Right, much more in this game to come, but let's look ahead to the rest of the fixtures in the Premiership this weekend. Some very good games. Significant one there, of course, Aberdeen against Celtic. That's the top two playing. Dundee United against Kilmarnock, two early season strugglers. Motherwell up against Ross County. It's Thistle against Dundee. Partick Thistle winless so far. And St Johnstone Hamilton, the Accies once again sitting proudly in the top half. So the top two meet at Pittodrie, and this is what the managers had to say ahead of that fixture.
We know it's a big game for us, but I think Celtic, certainly domestically, see this as one of their biggest games and biggest challenges coming to Pittodrie. And I think that the game will be reflective of that. Two teams determined to try and win the game, and there'll be a lot of good players on show. And I think that for a lot of the games last year, games were tight. And we were decent to a point, but as early on in the season as it is, it's a result of a performance.
Last year we started talking about the title race in January. Now we start in September. I think we're going to play a lot of matches this season, 38 or something. So nothing will be finished after Saturday, but again, the team who wins that game will put itself in a better position and get energy and confidence into the next games. So, but it's very early to talk about winning or losing the league.
We were confident going into each and every game since I've took charge here in the last couple of years against Celtic. The aim is always to win, and some games are tougher than others, and naturally games against Celtic are tougher to win, but we still feel we can win it.
I think they're a better team this year than they were the last year, because they have consistency. They brought in a couple of good players as well, and they have kept their team and have more experience than they had last year. So and they started very well, so it's going to be a tough game.
This matchup should really give us a good indication if Aberdeen have continued to close the gap on Celtic. But I guess the one thing that we really reflect back on from last year is that no wins in the league for Aberdeen against Celtic. And maybe the one that really sticks in the memory is this game. First meeting at Pittodrie last season, Van Dijk popped up right at the very end to score what ended up being such a crucial goal. Ronnie roared, I don't think he stopped after.
Well, this is where Celtic really turned the corner. In a fixture where they probably had their backs to the wall for, parts of the second half. They were up against it, but they showed a lot of mental strength. That's what Derek McInnes will be looking for from his side. Even in a game where you're not playing well or things aren't going your way, to have the ability to turn that into 3 points. That was the difference between Celtic last season and Aberdeen.
Chris Sutton is also with us tonight. Chris, interesting, isn't it, this matchup? Do you think it's a real chance for Aberdeen to make a statement, especially because Celtic have effectively got a back four which is much changed now?
Well, it is much changed. Losing Van Dijk was a big blow. Listen, it was a surprise to me Celtic sold Van Dijk. Anyway, I think, the fact they went out of Europe, Celtic should have kept him for me. Šiminović comes in, he's untried and tested. And then we've got Blackett, who'll probably come in and play left back, which spells the end of Izagiri. But look, Aberdeen have their own questions to answer. 4 defeats last season against Celtic. I think psychologically, if Celtic win, it will be massive. But Celtic are under pressure. Ronnie Dyler, 2 years out of the Champions League now. He's going to be under pressure. Tough draw in the Europa League. I think it's a tough one to call. I would say it's a draw.
Chris, thank you. More from Chris a little bit later on. Mikael Lustig should be back for Celtic as well for that game, which is significant. They really missed him in Malmo. You wonder if there's still a bit of bad feeling lingering between the two teams as well, because John Collins made all those comments a little while ago about Celtic's opposition. Derek McInnes responded, didn't he? But is there much ado but nothing here, or do you think this still will linger?
No, I think that you heard Derek McInnes there talking on camera, and he's very determined, regardless of the war of words that has been had there with John Collins. He's very determined that he wants his Aberdeen team to put a marker down against Celtic, and I think Chris is right there. Psychologically, it's a big one for either team if they get the upper hand at Pittodrie tomorrow. But a real big one for Aberdeen, because apart from those games against Celtic, for a long stages last season, they went toe to toe in terms of playing against the other teams. They picked up a huge number of points, and if they can get off and get 3 points, even a draw against Celtic tomorrow, it means it's a fantastic start for Aberdeen.
It's a very big game in the Granite City, isn't it? Another big game in Dundee tomorrow as United take on Kilmarnock. Two managers who are probably having to field questions they would rather not.
A lot's been made with Kilmarnock and ourselves and other teams are out in Inverness, but it's there's only 6 games in and everybody kind of jumps on things. For me, obviously, my focus is obviously the next game is most important, which is Kilmarnock. We need to win it at home. got 3 home games coming up which are big for us. Hopefully this can be the start of a good run for us.
Tannadice is always a difficult place to go. I think Jackie will be in the same position as myself. He'll be probably frustrated at the results and some of the performances possibly. But we can just concentrate on ourselves. It's a difficult place to go, but we need to make sure we go up there and put in a performance that will merit getting 3 points.
As I said, it's important we win Saturday at home though. Our home record's always been very good since we've been here, and want to keep that going.
Every game's a big game, there's no easy games. Every game's tough. But from our own point of view, we can only concentrate on ourselves, and we've got to make sure we get a couple of wins to put us back into a better position in the league table, and then hopefully we can kick on and have a good season.
They're both very positive managers. You do wonder how much they're feeling the strain. For Gary Locke, he's got a 3-year deal, Stephen, and a lot of the new signings that he brought in also got 3-year deals. So you would imagine the board would be really wanting to stick with him and give them all a go.
Well, you would think so, Darryl, but I don't think in Scottish football that nobody's happy unless someone's under pressure or we're talking about somebody's job. I imagine there'll be a huge media presence tomorrow there at Tannadice with Gary Locke under a little bit of pressure, question marks over Jackie McNamara's future. But for Gary Locke, he just has to get a result. They played Motherwell 2 weeks ago, and I thought they were poor at times. They looked like a side who had conceded 15 goals in 6 games. They were really under a little bit of pressure. There wasn't enough fluency about them. But suddenly you think Chris Boyd and Obadiah and Josh McGuinness, guys who can hurt teams. I think Gary Locke needs a little bit more from them at the top end of the pitch to go and cause problems. A win tomorrow could suddenly kickstart them.
The odd Killie fan here and there has been known to have a rant, hasn't he? As for Dundee United and Jackie McNamara, he's building a new team as well, and they were probably unlucky not to at least take a point from Ross County last time out.
Yeah, but it's all well and good talking about being unlucky. I think Jackie McNamara's probably sick, tired hearing about things like that. Very much like Kilmarnock, they need to get points on the board, and it's been well documented. They've lost real quality at the team, and it is difficult to turn it around. And we talk about momentum in football, and it is a big thing. And when it's going against you, like Dundee United have got it going against them just now, it becomes more and more important to try and halt that very quickly, because it's a worrying time for United fans, not just on the pitch. There's a lot of things happening off the pitch, a lot of talk, a lot of rumours coming out of Tannadice, and they need to try and make sure that they can get points on the board and put a wee stop to it quickly.
The kind of last 3 or 4 seasons, Dundee United have been in cup finals and semi-finals and top 6 and producing great football. Somewhere along the line that comes to an end. Most clubs, we're talking here, about Inverness tonight. It's kind of similar to them. You lose players and you suddenly have to, rebuild and go again. So certainly there's a lot of frustration at Tannadice, but Jackie certainly has to be given a little bit more time.
And Stephen, you'll be at Fir Park tomorrow because it's Motherwell against Ross County. You already mentioned that Motherwell beat Kilmarnock last time out, didn't they? So do your old team go into that in great spirits?
Well, certainly in better form than what they've been. They're up against the Ross County side who have been very strong at the start of the season. But this was a crucial game. It wasn't one for the purists, that's for sure. Was it a penalty kick? There's still debate whether it was or whether it wasn't. But on the day, you could sense the nervousness between the two sides. It was just about getting the win. Louis Malt, who's done well since coming in from Wrexham, he stepped up. It was a crucial win because suddenly it creates a little bit of a gap, to the bottom. It puts you 1 point off top 6. But Ross County, strong physical side. Jim McIntyre and Billy Dodds have done a terrific job. Okay, the budget's been extended this year, I know that for sure, but certainly you have to get the right style of play, the right style of player, and they've done that.
And Motherwell, of course, bringing in that new development coach this season might just make a difference. I think we should move on from that one. What about Partick Thistle Dundee? That is Stephen Craigan, by the way, in case you don't know. Partick Thistle also against Dundee tomorrow, and for Thistle, well, they've not won yet this season, so they need to get 3 points. They did sign an interesting player in Robbie Muirhead on loan at the deadline.
Well, I mean, it certainly raises the question in terms of whether he, what's happening in Dundee United. He was only signed in January there. They paid money for him, and all of a sudden he's out the door already. But Partick Thistle definitely needs somebody that's going to put the ball in the back of the net. They've not scored a great deal. And we're talking about it on a number of clubs already, but they, like a number of others, they need to start winning and getting points on the board, because you can start to see a bit of a gap building between 3 or 4 teams at the bottom, and you don't want to get detached even this early in the season.
And St Johnstone Hamilton is the other fixture tomorrow as well, and well, you can't rule Hamilton out because everyone has sort of written them off this season, and they keep on pulling in surprises, if you can call them that now.
Well, it was very similar to last season, wasn't it? They came up, they're kind of under the radar. Nobody really gave them much of a chance. They were everybody's favourites to go for relegation. So Martin Canning has probably got a bit of a siege mentality. I think you've mentioned that word already tonight. where he's galvanised everybody. He's got them together. You know, they've beaten Dundee United. They've came here to Inverness and they've won. They've beaten Hearts, who were the informed side as well. So they've got a lot about them. But they've got one star player in Ali Crawford, and he's the man that makes them tick. He's the one that goes about searching for the ball, makes the runs. Terrific goal against Hearts 2 weeks ago. So he's the main man. If you can keep him quiet, you've got a chance of beating Hamilton.
The thing is with Hamilton as well, you know, there's been a lot of talk spoken about in terms of, you know, Hearts losing that game, but I think, you know, there had to be credit given to Hamilton as well, because they were the better team. You know, regardless of what happened there, they were the better team. And, you know, as Craigs is saying there as well, Martin Cannon has got a good mentality put into the team, and it's almost very reminiscent of Alec Neil's time there now. And they look a very, you know, threatening team when they go in against the big teams in the league as well.
Well, credit has been given. Thank you very much for now, gentlemen. We'll refocus on this game next. Big night for Inverness, still looking for the first 3 points of the season, and a big game for Hearts as well, who want to get back to winning ways. Plenty more on the way. Welcome back. We're in the Highlands tonight to see Inverness take on Hearts. It's the start of another Ladbrokes Scottish Premiership weekend, and it's live for you only on BT Sport. Kick-off here is just under half an hour away. Hearts fans are in good voices tonight, wanting to get back to winning ways. We're delighted to tell you we'll be with you in Scotland with BT Sport for at least the next 5 seasons, because we've extended our deal with the SPFL until 2020, and that's good news because we love bringing you the games. We also love bringing the Champions League. We're the new home of that competition.
Scenes of unbridled joy.
The new home of the UEFA Champions League.
Barcelona, Europe's top team.
It all kicks off on Tuesday night and we cannot wait. Now, we're in the shadow of the Keswick Bridge tonight, but earlier this week, Ailey Barber met 2 Hearts players at a bridge slightly closer to their capital home.
Hiya. How are you doing?
How you doing?
Right, Sam?
Right.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming down and having a wee chat. Football back again this weekend. You missed it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that obviously we were away with the 21s last week, so I think the few boys got days off, but we were away, so no, it was a good experience and stuff, and obviously glad to be back in the club football this weekend.
And I suppose for both of you, a chance to get back to winning ways on Friday night. How disappointing was the defeat at Hamilton?
It was horrible. I mean, the way we started the season as well, we were doing really well. 5 wins out of 5, and obviously to get that unbeaten record stopped just there was horrible for us. But I mean, it's a good chance on Friday to go and put it right again.
To go up to Inverness away, every game you play there is always going to be tough. So no, we'll be expecting the same again this Friday night. So no, we need to make sure we try and do our best to get 3 points.
Tough place to go. Do you remember making your debut there?
Yeah, that was a target I had in my life, to obviously make my debut for Hearts, and it was against Inverness. I mean, I came on as a sub and I ended up making my first start against Inverness at Tynecastle as well, so must have a wee link with the club somewhere. I don't know. No, it's brilliant though. I mean, it'll be good to go back and play there.
It's amazing how many games that you both have played though, and I mean, you're both Hearts fans, aren't you?
Yeah.
So there was that time at the club which was really difficult for supporters and I'm sure for players, but it gave you both an opportunity to come into the first team and to play a lot more games than perhaps you would have done otherwise.
Obviously when me and Sam came into the team and stuff, it was a tough time for the club obviously, and administration and stuff, but you know, it gave us a chance, and I don't think, like obviously for me personally, I don't think I was ready to come in at that time, but you know, it's helped me as a player being thrown in and stuff, and it's maybe the player I am just now.
What about Robbie Nielsen? What's he like?
He's brilliant. I mean, obviously his coaching methods are good because we're all improving as players, and obviously our schedule is different to a lot of clubs. I think we must train a lot more than, maybe not all the clubs, but I think we train more than the majority. And
how much do you train?
A lot, anyway.
A lot,
yeah. No, I mean, there's double and triple sessions and stuff, but I mean, at first it was obviously a lot and we were a bit tired, but he always said to us, he was like, you'll suffer now, but you'll get the results in the end. And to be fair, we got that last season, so we'll obviously carry on the same way this season and hope we can get more results of that.
Keeps you out of trouble as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely, aye.
Well, we wish you all the best. Thank you very much for coming down and speaking to us, and enjoy the long drive north to Inverness.
Thank you, aye. Cheers.
We'll see you there.
Both Scotland under-21 internationals are very much on their way up, but because there's competition for places now, it means Nicholson starts tonight, Billy King is on the bench. That's going to be the way of it.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, there's a lot of players that can play in those areas. Obviously, Danny Swanson coming in as well. So there's tough competition. But I think the experience that they've gained so far, and you heard them talking about that, it stands them in good stead to know that they've got to perform when they're in the team if they want to keep their position.
What's the standout quality from Nicholson, would you say?
I think, like a number of other people in the team, he can make something happen. He's got real creativity. He can score a goal out of nothing, and that's invaluable in teams. I think there was a number of times last season and this season as well, where games have maybe not been going their way, but they can create and score out of nothing, and it's amazing what a difference a goal makes to a team.
Both of those young players, of course, will play a big part as the season goes on, but Danny Swanson seems to be getting a big chance. He's only signed a couple of days ago. He is straight into the team, and that means the likes of Jamie Walker will also have to fight for a place now, Stephen.
Well, Michael touched on it there, saying about competition for places, and Danny Swanson's probably most remembered amongst Johnson fans for last season for his terrific goal at Celtic Park, Darrell, and that's probably the kind of goal and the kind of style of play which has attracted Robbie Nielsen to him. He's a free agent, he hasn't had to pay any money for him. Danny Swanson's always been one of those players for me who's threatened to go and do well. And at the age of 28, it's probably his last chance to play at a huge club like Hearts, to go and impress, to play in a successful side, a side in a club that's progressing really well. So if he comes in, brings his A game to the table, he'll be a huge asset.
Hearts have got so many attacking options, as you mentioned. They're second top scorers behind Celtic so far in the top flight. And Wanma has just hit the ground running since he joined in the summer. Chris Sutton is with us. You probably saw him a little earlier on. Chris, I know this is a man that you really like.
I do. Can someone lend me a jumper, though? I'm absolutely freezing. Listen, for me, he's been the signing of the summer. What an impact he's made for Hearts this season. He's still relatively young at 24, and I think he's got all the attributes. He reminds me a bit of Mark de Vries. This is the first game of the season. He's in, he's composed, just slots it. But he can hold the ball in, he can link up. But this is impressive again. Just shows great composure. Takes his time and finishes. Throughout his career, he's not been overly prolific, but he's got other really good attributes here. Here he just beasts past the Partick defence and has the presence of mind just to lift it over the keeper. And 4 goals in 6 games. It's a tremendous start for him. But when you have the likes of Nicholson and King and Walker running off him, and they're secure in the knowledge that he can hold the ball in. Also, is a player like myself who likes to back in, and when he feels players, that's when it is best, and he can roll players like I used to do with Stephen Craigan.
When the elbows are out, do you mean, I guess? Well, you're still there, Chris. I want to ask you about Ryan Christie as well. Of course, he's gone to Celtic. He's back here on loan. But do you think that's a good deal for both of the clubs? That's Charlie Christie, of course. He's following in his father's footsteps to Celtic.
Yeah, I think it's a deal which will suit Inverness in terms of money, but it's a deal for the future, if you like. Celtic don't need another number 10 at the moment. They've got Rogic, they've got Commons, they've got Johansson, they've just brought Scott Allen. Celtic need a centre forward, so this is one for the future for me.
OK, Chris, thank you very much. More from Chris a little bit later on, guys. Ryan Christie going to Celtic. I guess the next few weeks he'll be right under the spotlight here then.
Of course, and I think that he's a top player first of all, and I can understand why Celtic are signing him. This performance that he put in at Celtic Park.
Did this tip the balance, do you think, to the signing the way he came on that day?
I think a club like Celtic, they'll have had these ideas of what they were wanting to do, and maybe the performance just made sure they wanted to speed it up. But you see these little clips here. He takes great positions up for Inverness. He finds that little pocket of space in a number 10 position, and he's got really good awareness and not a bad finishing ability as well. It's something he's added to his game, because when he first came in, he needed to score more goals. I think that I can understand why Celtic have signed him, But agreeing with Chris, they've got a real depth of quality in that area, and he'll have to do very well to get into the Celtic team. There's no doubt about that.
Stephen, you can see his quality there, and I guess the way he plays the next few weeks probably determines whether or not Celtic take him in January.
Well, there's going to be a lot of spotlight on him. You know, we've seen him progress over the last 18 months to 2 years. We've seen him making his debut here against Celtic. He's progressed. He's a better player. He knows the position an awful lot better. So big time for him. But I think he's deserved it.
I would be astonished if Celtic were going to take him back in January. I just don't think that there is the space for him, like Chris was saying, to get into that Celtic team, and he would do better staying here where he knows he's going to be playing every week.
OK guys, still to come, we'll hear from both of the managers ahead of kick-off. That's Robbie Neilson and John Hughes having a chat right now in the tunnel. That's on the way next. Welcome back. We're live at the Caledonian Stadium tonight in Inverness. The Hearts fans have made the long journey, desperate to see their team get back to winning ways. They have made some impact back in the top flight. Now, these are the team news headlines. Both teams have made 3 changes. For Inverness, James Vincent is back from injury to play for the first time since scoring the winner in the cup final. And Miles Storey makes his debut, a loan signing from Swindon. For Hearts, there's also a debut for Danny Swanson, who just signed for the club this week. And 17-year-old Sean McCurdy starts for the first time in the league. Morgaro Gomez has been given some time off due to a family bereavement. More from both of these guys in just a second, but now let's get the thoughts of John Hughes, the Inverness manager, ahead of the game. He's with Ailey.
Well, John, let's just start straight with your team selection tonight. Miles Storey straight in up front. He's got a lot of on his hands tonight. I'm sure he's well aware of the fact that there hasn't been a goal scored here yet this season.
Well, I'm not aware of that, but he's certainly a talented footballer. He's got good pace, he wants to go in behind, he's a strong boy, and we feel he's still got something to prove. So that's possibly what we've been lacking this year in that final third. So he'll bring us that little bit of pace and energy. And we've picked a team with pace and energy in the top half of the pitch in terms of James Vincent, Danny Williams and the crafty Ryan Christie. So hopefully, that'll be the winning formula.
Yeah, some of your players from last season coming back in, and Ryan Christie as well back in. Was there ever any doubt in your mind that he would be starting tonight, given everything that's gone on with his move to Celtic and coming back here? Has that affected him in any way?
No, we're just delighted it's done and dusted, even with the Scotland 21s, get that out of the way. And I spoke to him the other day there, and he has to now show the Inverness supporters why Celtic signed him. Celtic are here watching him tonight, so I says to him, go and be man of the match. I've no doubt that might be the case. He's a real talent. And I've said to the supporters in Inverness, you need to support the kid. Although we all know he's going to Celtic the way they did with Graham Shinney when he knew he was going to Aberdeen, and enjoy it while he's still here.
All the best tonight, John. Thank you.
Cheers, thanks very much.
He's always positive, isn't he? And he's been positive about Miles Storey because just arrived late in the window, straight into that starting lineup. And maybe that's not a surprise because they need to solve this goal-scoring problem, Stephen.
Well, they do. John touched on it there, that, possibly lacking pace. And when you lose someone like Marty Watkins at the top end of your pitch, Darryl, it's going to cause you a problem. Billy Mackay and Michael touched on earlier, going, last January. Edward O'Fair leaving in the summer, but they're getting into good positions. They're working their way up their pitch. They're getting men in and around about the ball. Ryan Christie again, always the architect, always looking for that killer pass, but they just can't seem to find the back of the net. And the longer that goes, the more frustrating it becomes. Players start to snatch at things, and Michael, having played the game so often, when you can score goals, it always gives you a chance naturally winning games.
Of course it does. I mean, it takes a pressure off the guys at the back as well. When you know you've got somebody up the top that's going to put it in the back of the net. I mean, that's a poor finish there as well. Goals change games, and if you're struggling, it puts a lot of pressure on the rest of the team.
Okay, almost time to hear from Robbie Neilson now. He has been a revelation since he got the Hearts job, taking them up from the Championship, and now you think the sky's the limit for him.
Jamie Walker! Exquisite! Listen to the Gorgie roar! Expect the unexpected in an Edinburgh derby! There was the moment of inspiration! Hearts top of the table! Flat day in Gorgie. And Hearts have the notice in front again!
Well, Robbie, your 50th game in charge of Hearts. It's been some journey already, and a chance on this milestone match to finish the night top of the Premiership. It's been some journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a good start. I didn't realise it was that many games. It's flown in But we want to finish tonight, as you said, at the top of the league. It's a great opportunity for us with Celtic and Aberdeen playing tomorrow to go and put a little bit of pressure on them.
In your tenure, you've never lost 2 matches in a row at Hearts. How big an incentive is that to keep that run going tonight, and how do you instill that in a team to bounce back after defeat?
To be honest, we're not interested in what happened in the last game. It was done. It's about tonight. It's about preparing properly for it and trying to win the game. What's done is done, and we try and get a win tonight.
You've made a few changes. What's your thinking behind those, and how much has Danny Swanson impressed you in the lead up to this game?
Yeah, well, one of the changes getting forced on us today, Margaro's had a family bereavement, so he's had to go home, which was disappointing. The players feel for him. McCurdy's come in, he's an academy graduate who played a couple of games this season in the Cup, so we've no issues about putting him in. He's a fantastic young player. Swanson coming in, he's a good player, experienced, he's 28 years old, he knows the game, he gives an attacking threat, and I just felt that it was a good opportunity to put him in tonight.
Thanks very much, Robbie. All the best.
Thank you. Cheers.
Well, his record is absolutely amazing since he took that Hearts job, isn't it? The winning percentage, and I know some of that was in the Championship, but the bottom line is he had to establish a winning mentality at the club again, and he's done that.
Yeah, of course. He had a clean slate. A lot of times, when you get that, you end up doing the wrong things. But everybody at Hearts that's come in since they came out of administration's done their job to the highest degree. And a 77% win percentage that Robbie's got, regardless of whether it's in the Championship, the vast majority of it or not, that's a win percentage that a lot of managers would die for.
When he reflects back in the early season before that international break, if there's one area of the pitch he might not be delighted about, is it the defence, Stephen?
Well, it's possibly even just cross balls or long balls into the box, Daryl. Whether it's 4 different nationalities playing across the back. Is it lack of communication? Is it maybe style of play? They're coming from a background, they're not used to as many high balls or long balls coming into the box. Here particularly Callum Patterson being left 2v1 at the back post. Is it a case of talking to someone, communicating, trying to get extra bodies over the cover? So certainly against St Johnstone in the first game of the season, they were punished. And this goal against Hamilton, it's just a long ball up the top, over the top. I think Oztuk has to deal better with it. Callum Patterson has to tuck round. So it's just giving up simple goals. In a game where they played particularly well, of course that was all about the 10 men and Patterson being sent off, but giving up cheap goals, crosses into the box, I'm sure it's something Robbie and the players will want to improve on.
OK, kick-off is fast approaching now at the Caledonian Stadium. Should be a good Friday night fixture for us. Inverness desperate to get back to winning ways after winning the Cup final last season, and Hearts, well, they're just desperate to have football again after losing to Hamilton 2 weeks ago. The game kicks off next.